Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, the state is in the grips of a new tidal wave of homelessness as hundreds face another bitter winter. Tasmanians struggling to find a roof over their heads are resorting to living in tents. Many are now speaking up, wanting their stories heard.
These are the faces of Launceston's homelessness crisis.
Homelessness is not hopelessness.
We can't get our children home unless we got a home, and everyone needs a home.
People should have a really good, safe space to be and sleep.
This mother has been homeless for 27 months.
We've exhausted all avenues. We've been asked to move on from the council, we've been asked to move on from housing, and now we've joined a local church and we've now been asked to move on from there. So now where do we go? What do we do? And if I lose my children, then what next? We need something done.
With ballooning wait times for social housing and crisis accommodation so scarce, many are being forced to find shelter elsewhere, pitching tents across the city in numbers not seen before. Tony Leary has been living in a hotel for 2.5 years.
I'm holding a job down, doing the best that I can, and I just fear that we're going to lose more people unless we fix this housing situation in Tasmania. It is just horrible.
Homeless charity Strike It Out provides meals and supplies to those doing it tough and currently supports more than 100 people.
Even this week alone, another couple of ladies here with their children as well, having nowhere to go. They're showing how dire the situation is, and it's only growing.
Today, Launceston City Councillors voted in favour of allowing these lockers for the homeless to remain near Royal Park for at least another 12 months. Council listened to many moving stories from locals on the street during the meeting and says it will now explore what else can be done to support them in the city.
The government, state and federal and the councils around Tasmania and Australia to step up, meet the basic human rights of all the people of Australia today before winter hits and this crisis just deepens.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmanian News.
The state's peak medical body has raised concerns about how doctors will staff Labor's promised urgent care clinics in the state. If federal Labor is elected, Tasmania will receive 3 after-hours clinics to ease the load for emergency departments.
Our concern, if they're set up as separate clinics, is where do they get the general practitioners from? We know we've got a shortage of general practitioners in Tasmania. We know we've got a crisis in general practice.
This is actually a solution to that problem. Urgent care clinics are going to be great places to work because you're going to be actually seeing a lot of the medicine that you don't see in a GP clinic at the moment. So we're confident that we can find the medical staff that we need.
I don't think that this is the answer that Labor is saying that it will be. I don't think it has been thought through.
The model has already been taken up in Tasmania, with the Liberal state government supporting one in the north. Labor would invest $750,000 towards each clinic and they would be up and running in the next 2 years. Close contact isolation rules could be scrapped in Tasmania as early as next week. New South Wales and Victoria announced yesterday they'll be easing quarantine requirements for household contacts from tomorrow. Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe says Tasmanian Public Health has been working closely with Australia's top health officials and a decision will be made in coming days. The state recorded 1,468 new COVID infections overnight. Sadly, another person has died from the virus. 4 new paramedics have been allocated to the Huonville region in Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe's first pre-budget announcement. But critics warn the additional resources won't go far enough to reduce the burden on Tasmania's crippled health system.
They're on the front line of delivering emergency healthcare to people of all ages, and now 4 new paramedics will join the ranks of Ambulance Tasmania's Huonville branch.
Today's announcement represents a doubling of that paramedic workforce at Huonville Station, which will see double crewed paramedics on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The extra recruits have been fully costed in the May budget in a bid to reduce pressure on the service.
Huonville as a location has seen a 12% population increase over the last 5 years, and naturally when populations increase, demand for ambulance services increase too.
Statewide, the average response time for a crew to arrive on scene is around 14 minutes, which Labor claims is among the worst in the country.
people who are calling 000 in Tasmania are waiting longer for an ambulance to turn up than anywhere else in Australia.
The state government has committed to building 6 additional branches, including superstations at Glenorchy and Burnie, while 30 vehicles will be rolled out across the Ambulance Tasmania fleet by June 30, and 48 new paramedics will be employed in the next 2 years. But the health union says that commitment falls short of demand.
We need around about 200 paramedics, including trucks and resources, to bring the state up to a level that it needs to be at.
Once we reach the 48 paramedics, new paramedics, of course, we then will do a workforce scan to look at demand in the future and what further resources are required.
Last year's resilience survey of more than 300 Ambulance Tasmania staff found around a third was suffering from fatigue and a range of mental health issues. But the state government says it's working to address those concerns.
Of course, we expect ongoing dialogue, consultation and listening to all our paramedic personnel to ensure that they have the right supports in place.
Supports those staff desperately need to continue helping others. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian firefighters have begun industrial action against the state government, requesting the Premier intervene in negotiations. The union is calling for better pay and conditions for workers in line with their interstate counterparts.
Our members want to see a more comprehensive agreement that improves flexibility for the service, for the employees, and improves the safety for the community.
None of those have gone to the vote of the membership, that's my understanding. But we want to ensure that all our first responders, our frontline personnel are well supported.
The current agreement lapsed in July 2021. The burst water main has disrupted traffic in North Hobart. Motorists are asked to avoid the intersection between Elizabeth and Newdigate Streets while Taswater responds to the incident. It estimates it will take until 8:30 tonight to repair. Work is ahead of schedule on new units for women and their children fleeing family violence. The Launceston Women's Shelter is doubling its short-term crisis accommodation, with 15 self-contained 1, 2 and 3 bedroom units being built, thanks to joint state and federal funding.
At the Launceston Women's Shelter, we have requests for accommodation every month of nearly 50 women and their accompanying children, and we usually assist 19 of those. So doubling our capacity is going to be unbelievable for our clients.
The units are due to be completed by the end of September. Tasmania's forestry sector is warning governments to invest in our nation's timber plantations or face major shortages by 2050. The grim forecast has been issued in a new report, which warns the construction sector and plans for new homes could be impacted unless action is taken.
It's a building block of the great Australian dream. Timber supports not only the family home and business, but a number of jobs.
We actually have about 1 million people in trades, in building and construction in Australia, and they're largely people who work with timber.
But those dreams are facing a nightmare scenario. A Tasmanian Forest Products Association report is warning imported timber, which currently forms 20% of the market, will need to double by 2050 to meet demand for new dwellings. However, COVID, global conflict and a pivot towards self-reliance in other nations is stretching supply.
Action needs to be taken now, or our children are going to be in real strife when it comes to building homes in Australia.
We're estimating, a shortage of timber frames of up to 5,000 new homes over the next 15 years.
The sector is calling for extra investment in plantations.
That report is saying no longer can we be sure that those imports are going to come back in the volumes that we've relied on in the past.
It's just about getting that investment in so that we can shore up production and supply chains.
Both the state and federal governments say they're heeding the message.
Our investment of $112 million in being able to process more timber here in Australia, Aussie jobs, Aussie factories producing great Aussie products.
They do need those supplies. That's why we need a sustainable forest industry.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
A coroner has handed down his findings into the death of a former British Royal Marine on a Tasmanian mine site 5 years ago. Simon Cooper found Nathaniel Beasley's death was caused by crush injuries during a rock fall at the Grange Resources mine on Tasmania's west coast in March 2017. The father of two was undertaking maintenance work at the site while awaiting transfer to the Australian Army. Well, the siren's about to sound on a Tasmanian timekeeping veteran's career. 87-year-old Kevin Quigley has amassed an amazing 1,300 games with the stopwatch and will oversee his final match this weekend.
It's not quite the MCG, but to Kevin Quigley, the St Pat's siren has the same spine-tingling effect. But after 70 years watching both the game and the clock, old Father Time has finally caught up with Kevin's career.
When we first started timekeeping, you used to have the old cowbell.
And when that failed,
wave and race to the car and blow the horn.
He's even had his own siren gate.
When the power went off, the game went for an extra 5 minutes.
Did it change the outcome of the game?
No, because we played 5 minutes each way extra.
Turns out stalwarts like Kevin are hard to come by. St Pat's is desperate to find a new timekeeper to fill these big shoes after Kevin's last game this weekend. He'll oversee another veteran on Saturday, goal umpire John Moroney's 900th game. He started in 1972.
Good fun to be in.
It's one of the game's quirky roles, which sometimes puts you in the line of danger. John's made it to here in one piece, but don't count on him cracking four figures.
Not this stage. No, I've enjoyed the whole lot of them.
Over a century of combined experience should have this game in safe hands. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Well, some of Tasmania's best produce is going under the microscope this week at the Hobart Showgrounds. The Royal Tasmanian Fine Food Awards began this morning with bakery and preserved products, the first to be judged. Experts from across Australia had the enviable job of sampling 240 entries, ranging from biscuits and cakes through to sauces and marmalades.
The main thing is flavour. There's other things that come into it, like texture of the biscuit, the freshness as well. How it appears.
Being able to stick the gold medal winning sticker onto their product or onto their jar of jam, for example, can make a world of difference.
The winners will be announced on Saturday morning. Works from one of the world's most famous children's authors are being brought to life in Tasmania this school holiday break. 5 Beatrix Potter stories, including The Tale of Peter Rabbit, are hopping onto the Playhouse Theatre stage in Hobart. Local actors will bring her fictional characters to life, with the show also examining the British writer herself.
The stories are so simple but engaging. I think audiences will find the show not only fun for kids but also has a really wonderful emotional human factor.
Performances will run until May 1.
To basketball, Scott Roth could be named the NBL's Coach of the Year in the Jack Jumpers' first season. Roth is one of 3 finalists for the award, named in honour of Hall of Fame legend Lindsay Gaze after a maiden season producing 16 wins for the new club. Meanwhile, Will Magnay has signed a 2-year deal with Tasmania after a promising season cruelled by injury. Tasmania's netballers have suffered losses at the National Championships in Hobart. The under-17s had a tough game against South Australia, defeated 37-13, while a third quarter fade-out crippled the under-19s' hopes, going down 36-25 against SA. 3 Tasmanians are bringing home bronze medals after playing in Australia's wheelchair rugby team at the Invictus Games. Matt and Peter Brown and Trent Forbes were part of the side which beat France 27-12 in the medal playoff match. Hobart's Razor Rob Wilkinson has fought his way to the top of the light heavyweight division in the Professional Fighting League. The mixed martial artist laid some frightening blows on Brazil's Bruce Soto in the cage today. The 30-year-old Tasmanian pummeled his opponent on the canvas, winning in the second round. It's his 14th win from 16 professional bouts. And finally, Richie Port remains 16 seconds behind the overall leader after stage 3 in the Tour of the Alps.
Good evening. Temperatures peaked at 18 with Launceston recording the maximum. Hobart a chilly 14 today, Burnie and Devonport 16. Temperatures up to 5 degrees below average. Smithton and King Island 17, Flinders Island, Low Heads and Helens and Bushy Park 16, Friendly Beaches and Strawn 15 and Lyoweeney a high of 7. Derwent Bridge recorded 2 millimetres today as low-level clouds streamed over the west and south of the state. Low cloud also over the southern mainland, patchy cloud over central Australia, extensive convective cloud, the story east of Cape York. Tomorrow the high moves slowly eastwards, extending a ridge over Tasmania. Troughs develop over the east and far west of the nation. Southwest to westerly winds are 10 to 20 knots, lighter and more variable over the northeast, swells to 5 metres in the west and south. We have a frost warning. That's for parts of the Midlands tomorrow. And for tomorrow, a chilly start, 7 overnight for Hobart, 17 the maximum. Huonville a top of 16, 3 overnight for Campania, 17 the high. Launceston a low of 2, 17 the top but mostly sunny. Devonport 16, 17 and sunny for Georgetown. Burnie expecting 16 degrees, cloudy for Strawn, 16 the top and 16 also for Wynyard. St Helens tomorrow a high of 16. 16 for Swansea and 16 for Port Arthur. Getting easy to do every day. On Saturday a light shower over the west, otherwise fine and partly cloudy. Fine on Sunday, mostly sunny over the north and east. Again a shower over Strawn. Morning fog patches on Monday followed by a fine partly cloudy day. Sunny in Perth, partly cloudy for Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra. A few showers in Sydney. 27 degrees in Brisbane with a shower there. Some heavier falls further north over North Queensland. Partly cloudy and cooling down to 9 degrees in Hobart, partly cloudy in Launceston, currently it's 12 and 11 degrees right now in Devonport. Kim, noticed you smiling a lot more during the news tonight. Obviously that veneer work you had done today is pleasing you somewhat.
I've been to the dentist. There's nothing private round here, Murph. That is your news for now. We'll have updates later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.